It's hard to explain how you get to a point in life where everything you thought you knew about love and commitment starts to unravel. For me, it happened slowly, over the course of months, and I didn't realize it until it was too late. But let me start from the beginning. My wife, Emma, and I had been married for nearly 8 years. Our relationship had always been good, or at least I thought it was. We had our ups and downs, sure, but I assumed it was just the normal ebb and flow of married life. But one evening, everything changed. It was a Wednesday night, and we were sitting at the kitchen table, having dinner like we always did. The air was heavy with unspoken tension. Something was off, and I could feel it in my bones. Emma had been distant lately, not just physically, but emotionally. It was subtle, but it was there. "I've been thinking," she said, breaking the silence. Her voice was calm, but there was something behind it that I couldn't quite place. I looked up from my plate, trying to read her expression. "About what?" "About us," she replied, her gaze drifting to the window. "About our marriage. I think we need something different." I sat there waiting for her to continue. She didn't speak right away, and I could tell she was choosing her words carefully. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach, but I didn't say anything. We'd been through hard times before, but this felt different. "I think we should try an open marriage," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. The words hit me like a slap to the face. I didn't know how to respond. My mind raced, trying to process what she was saying. An open marriage? Was she serious? This wasn't a conversation we'd ever had. We'd never even discussed the idea of seeing other people. It felt like a sudden and shocking betrayal, even though she hadn't done anything yet. "Wait," I said, trying to calm my racing heart. "What do you mean by that?" She looked at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of nervousness and resolve. "I don't mean that I don't love you, Jake. I do. But I think we've been together for so long, and we've changed. I think it's time for us to explore new things, to experience life in a different way." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Emma wanted to be with other people. She wanted us to open up our marriage, to invite someone else into our lives. It felt like everything we had built together was being thrown out the window. I couldn't wrap my head around it. "I need some time to think about this," I said, standing up and walking away from the table. I needed space. I needed to clear my head. But as I walked through the house, I realized something. The tension between us had been building for months, and I hadn't seen it until now. Maybe I'd been too blind to notice the cracks in our relationship. I spent the next few days in a daze. I didn't know what to think or how to feel. Part of me was angry, part of me was confused, and part of me was terrified. I didn't know how to save my marriage if Emma wasn't willing to fight for it. But I also couldn't ignore the fact that there was something appealing about the idea of freedom, of doing things that were once off limits. It was like a door had been opened, and I didn't know whether to step through it or close it. That's when I saw her, Sarah, the woman who lived next door. She was in her mid-30s, divorced, and had been living in the house next to ours for a few months. I had always noticed her, but we'd never really talked. She was friendly, but there was an air of mystery about her. And over the last few weeks, we had started talking more. At first, it was casual, small talk over the fence or when we ran into each other at the mailbox. But as time went on, our conversations became longer, and we began confiding in each other. She seemed like someone who understood me, someone who wasn't caught up in the same world I was. It felt nice to have someone listen. One evening, after Emma had brought up the open marriage conversation again, I found myself walking next door to Sarah's house. I didn't know why. Maybe I was looking for answers, or maybe I was just looking for someone to talk to. I knocked on her door, and when she opened it, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. "Hey," I said, awkwardly shifting on my feet. "Can I come in for a minute?" She smiled warmly and stepped aside, letting me in. "Of course. What's going on? You look a little off." I sat down on the couch, unsure of how to explain what was happening. But as I spoke to Sarah, I found myself pouring out everything. The conversation with Emma, my confusion, the pain I was feeling. Sarah listened quietly, nodding, offering comfort without judgment. "I don't know what to do," I said, my voice cracking. "I love Emma, but this isn't something I ever imagined for us." Sarah looked at me with understanding. "It sounds like you're in a really tough spot, Jake, but you have to do what's right for you. If Emma is pushing for something that makes you uncomfortable, you need to think about whether you can live with that." I nodded, feeling the weight of her words. We sat in silence for a while, and then Sarah did something unexpected. She reached out and touched my hand. It wasn't a romantic gesture, but it felt intimate in a way that I wasn't used to. I felt something stir inside me, something I hadn't felt in a long time. Over the next few weeks, I found myself spending more and more time with Sarah. Our conversations became deeper, and we started to confide in each other about our lives, our pasts, and our dreams. I didn't intend for it to happen, but somewhere along the way, I started to feel a connection to her that was impossible to ignore. One night, after a long talk, we ended up sitting on her porch, looking at the stars. Without thinking, I leaned in and kissed her. It was soft at first, hesitant, but it quickly turned into something more. I wasn't thinking about Emma in that moment, or about the consequences. I was thinking about how I felt, about how I had been living in a marriage that had lost its spark, and about how Sarah made me feel alive again. The next morning, I woke up in my own bed, conflicted and ashamed, but I also knew something had changed inside me. I wasn't sure where things would go with Sarah, or what would happen with Emma, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to stay in a marriage that didn't fulfill me. I had walked out once, and now I was walking a different path, one that was uncertain, but full of possibilities.